who is the head of our operations there in Mongolia, provided me a briefing to put me in the context of what to expect there to go. So I would like to invite our keynote speaker first, Vice Minister of Economy and Development, Mr. Tudendorj, to give us the big picture. Vice Minister, before you give your talk, can we have a taster of Mongolia, if you don't mind? Because I think we've got a lovely video, just again to bring the whole audience to your country, to my country now. So can we have the video, please?
Welcome to our home, Mongolia. An ancient country rich in culture and nomadic heritage. A young nation where 65% are under 35. We treasure our unspoiled nature and proudly uphold our commitment to democratic freedoms. Our abundant clean energy is unlocking a brighter, more sustainable future. And new development programs ensure we stand tall as Asia's next leading power. Through rapid digital transformation, we're diversifying our economy and streamlining public services. We can now access over 800 services with the touch of our finger. Come to Asia's heartland. Come to Mongolia, where possibilities and exploration await.
Good afternoon, honored guests and delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank European Bank and Construction and Development and Mongolian representative Mr. Hannes for organizing annual meeting and business forum. It is my pleasure and honor to represent Mongolia in this significant event, including Mongolian business delegates. Today I will discuss about the current economic situation in Mongolia and investment environment, also the investment opportunities in Mongolia. Here we will discuss about the recent economic progress in Mongolia. Last 3 years, due to the COVID pandemic, has affected the world economy. In that sense, Mongolian economy also hit by the pandemic. During this time, Mongolia had to face many challenges to overcome. One of the challenges was border closing. In a result of it, consumer products prices increased. The GDP dropped to minus 10%. In the end of the year, 2022, we had an expectation that GDP growth will increase to 2.4%. However, it surpassed our expectations, which is reached to 4.8% growth. Inflation in the mid of the 2022 was record high up, reached 16%. However, now in the first quarter of the 2023, it slightly decreased to 10.9%. In the second half of 2023, we are forecasting to reach to one-digit number. Post-pandemic economy is recovering. Businesses are up and running. Foreign trade balance has returned increased by 32% compared to previous years. Looking at these statistics, we are very optimistic in growth in the 2022 economic growth. In order to expedite it to economic growth, we are aiming to recover mining sector to pre-pandemic level. In this year, we focusing to have a maintain economic growth and furthermore keep the sustainable economic growth, hence implement disciplined fiscal and monetary policy. If you look into Mongolian economic structure, the mining sector is 1/4 of the GDP and is over 90% of the oil export in Mongolia. Therefore, to diversify the economy, we need to focus to develop other sectors, including agriculture, tourism, energy, and banking sectors, to strengthen our economy resilience. The government has consistently worked on stabilizing the legal environment for foreign investment and improving investment procedures and regulations to create more favorable conditions for investors. Mongolia holds strategic geographical position neighboring China and Russia market. Rich of natural resources, recognized as a safe and democratic country. Mongolia has established free trade agreements with the major markets, includes APTA, Japan EPA, and European Union GS+. Our major trade partners are China with more than 80%, European Union 14%, and Russia 1.1%, and the rest. Mongolia has joined international agreements such as Washington Convention on Investment Dispute Settlement and the Seoul Convention on Investment Insurance. Additionally, Mongolia is member of the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. Also, we have signed the agreement on mutual protection and promotion of investment with the 43 countries, and the agreement on double taxation with the 26 countries. We maintained good credit rating and keep forward to keep increasing our credit rating. We have favorable tax systems in Asia-Pacific region, making it easier for businesses to navigate tax obligations. Now we move on to opportunities cooperation areas to invest in Mongolia. Our country has a vast deposit of coal, copper, gold, uranium, rare earth minerals, with those making Mongolia an attractive destination for mining investments. These mineral resources serve as the backbone of our economy and offer immense opportunities for foreign investors. Mongolia holds tremendous potential for exploration, especially in the copper and rare earth. Mongolia's untapped copper reserves
Could we help? Any issues with the slide, perhaps? Can we help with? Sorry, disturbed.
Mongolia has untapped copper reserves, hold immense potential for international investors. We have two big copper mine refinery plants at the moment, Erdenet copper mine and Oyutolga copper mine. Oyutolga is the largest underground mine and second biggest deposit in the world. Erdenet copper mine has started its operation in the 70s, and it's one of the biggest copper mines in Asia region. As the demand for these essential elements continues to rise, Mongolia's vast and untapped rare earth minerals deposit position our nations as a valuable resource presenting great opportunities for exploration in mining industry. According to the Paris Agreement, countries pledged to reduce carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions, as well as to adapt the impact of climate change. By scaling up renewable energy, countries can sharply reduce coal-based energy supply. Mongolia's renewable energy sector has promising opportunities. There are growing domestic market, demand for clean energy solutions. There are potential to export renewable energy to China market. The government of Mongolia is support energy sector project to create favorable environment and renewable energy development. Government of Mongolia introduced in a new recovery policy to address infrastructure challenges and enhance the national railroad network and airports. This policy focuses on resolving existing infrastructure issues and undertaking necessary expansions to improve transportation connectivity within the country. We are planning to build 2.3 thousand kilometers railway and 2.9 thousand kilometers highway and 6 international airports. There are many opportunities to invest in infrastructure in Mongolia. The next potential industry is agricultural and farming sector. Our vast livestock, which plays an important role in our economy and culture. We have approximately more than 70 million livestock. This rich livestock population presents tremendous opportunities for investment and growth in the livestock farming sector. Mongolia holds great potential in the meat processing industry. With our significant livestock population, we have the capacity to develop robust halal meat processing sector that meets domestic and international demand. Another promising sector within Mongolia's agribusiness landscape is the production of dairy products. With our favorable climate conditions and abundant grazing lands, we have the ideal environment for dairy farming. Mongolia is famous for its exquisite cashmere, derived from the fine fiber of our native goats. With our long-standing expertise in cashmere processing, we possess competitive advantage in the global cashmere market. And next, Mongolia announces next three years to be Welcome to Mongolia initiative to develop tourism sector. Within the frame of the initiative, we will develop several special zones with the cluster areas. Huskul Lake National Park cluster, which is Mongolia's pure water reserve, 75% of the pure water reserves, and 0.4% of the global pure water reserves. Beautiful national park area. We planning to cluster develop of tourism area. And second, cross-border tourism special zone. We planning in eastern part of Mongolia and border zone. Also, Hushukht Valley free economic zone. We are planning to open casino and entertainment centers, which is close to just next to the capital city of Ulaanbaatar. There are 4 free trade zones which offer exceptional opportunities for business and trade, located in strategic locations. These zones provide favorable environment for economic growth and development. One of the free trade zones is in China border, designed for heavy industry, manufacturing, trade, and logistic hub. Second, free trade zone in Russia border. We will design for light industry, agricultural, and trade. Free economic zone in central Mongolia will be for casino that I mentioned in entertainment and finance and tourism purposes. With all these opportunities, I would like to invite you to invest Mongolia with this mining, renewable energy, infrastructure, agricultural, tourism, free economic trade zone. With these mentioned fields, there are vast opportunities to invest in Mongolia. Welcome to Mongolia. Invest in Mongolia. Thank you for your attention.
I would like to thank the Vice Minister for the briefing, putting us in the context. I hasten to add, if you allow me, an invitation to all those who are listening to us here in this room or elsewhere, to an International Economic Investment Forum in Ulaanbaatar that will take place on the 9th and the 10th of July, just before Nadam. Do I remember it well? So it's a great opportunity to come to the country, talk to government, these and other lovely business people, to start getting a feel of the opportunities that you have outlined, 9th and 10th in July. Let me also take the opportunity. This is a commercial for EBRD. Yes, Hannes? We have summed up together what are the results that we have achieved with many of you. So Hannes and our team, Hannes, if you could stand up. He is leading our team in Ulaanbaatar. So he will be biased because he has been there now for many years, and he is, Vice Minister, I think one of your best ambassadors. Carrying the news about investment opportunities in Mongolia. Now, investors, when they come to a country, yes, they look at taxation, customs, but increasingly they look at the financial sector. Let me introduce, because I know her as Degi, and our dear partner, Erdene Delger Bavlai. So, dear Degi, she is Deputy CEO of one of our partner banks, a strategic partner for us, Han Bank, in Mongolia. You have just celebrated new successes in terms of how you cooperate with EBRD. We have a strong relationship financing SMEs, trade finance, but you have just shared with me also new products that you are introducing. Tell us a bit about your bank and the banking sector and the services you are offering to your clients. Degi, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. And it was a great opportunity for me to speak at the EBRD conference. And EBRD has been the long partner for Han Bank. So I think our partnership started ever since 2004. And not only EBRD, we work with many of those international financial institutions from Europe, like FOMO and DG, Proparco, and then I met many of you over here in the last 2 days, as well as there's a lot of correspondent banks we work under EBRD trade facilitation program. So in the last 2 days was quite successful for Han banks. Basically, the first day we were awarded as most active issuing bank award from EBRD, because in this room many of those investors and the partner countries, and if there is any kind of your partner corporates make a business in Mongolia, we would be happy to support under TFP with the support of course, EBRD and other IFIs. And yesterday also we celebrated and signed $20 million loan agreement with EBRD, and it was mostly supporting the women in business. And in Mongolia, women is quite strong, I would say. Like in our bank, especially in the lending business, our market share is about like 36%. And the SME sector, like more than 60% of the SME business is owned by the women. So that means it's quite good, strong women entrepreneurship there. And with the EBRD's Women in Business program, it's just not only providing long-term funding, it's also providing some technical advisories and some risk-sharing facilities. And also it has a digital focus. In the last 2 days, or even today, we're talking about the digital dividend, digital connectivity. So on that front, Ham Bank has been like pioneering on the digital transformation. So now the Ham Bank market share in the transaction business is almost like 78%. 99% of our transactions are now happening in the digital channels. Very briefly about the Ham Bank, it's the largest bank, and we are about like $4.6 billion asset, and annually we're processing about 1 billion financial transaction, which is 99% of them is happening at the digital channels. Applications, internet banking, kiosk, ATMs, and like there are different kind of like all digital tools. And at the same time, on the digital side, also the Ham Bank is, on the business model, it's very retail, it's semi-bank, but then on the balance sheet side is on the lending business, 50% is retail and 50% is business. Business meaning semi and corporate. So on this digital journey, we think that about 70% of our consumer loan will be able to shift to the digital by the end of this year. There will be seamless automated decision making, which is behind there's AI, machine learning tools are working, and then it's connected to the e-Mongolia government platform, as well as a central credit information bureau, which is they can check the credit history, and then less than 5 minutes the consumers can get the loan. And at the same time, just about a month ago, also we launched eKYC. In the banking business, it's KYC, knowing your customer is very important. So now with the digital transformation, so the customer doesn't need necessarily to come to the branch, but then they can update their phone number and IDs and all these kind of things remotely. So, of course, the digitalization is helping a lot on the sustainability goals, innovations, and many of those kind of things. But then also the challenges coming, like how those people are remotely getting the services. And then now what we focus is how make them to come back, not physically, but remotely. So that's also getting the quite a challenge. Mongolia is a vast country. It's the 19th largest country in the world, quite scattered, and only 3.5 million population. So even so, the digital is getting quite strong. More than like 60% of the population is under age of 35, and so quite digital literacy is over there. Yeah, that's what I can say.
Thank you very much, Degi. Han Bank, one of our stars in Mongolia. Well, Degi, you are beating us because my president says, EBRD president, let's go green, inclusive, digital, and you are implementing it, and more.
Yes.
I would always hasten to add, and the Vice Minister would agree with me, my fourth priority is always good economic governance, because otherwise we are getting nowhere unless there is regulatory framework. You wanted to add something, Degi?
Yeah, the Ham Bank has just issued the green bond internationally just about 2 months ago. It was a $60 million transaction, was a private placement. So IFC helped us to establish our green bond framework in line with the international capital market green bond principle. And then also our green bond framework was second opinion issued by the sustainable Fitch rating agencies. And as a result, we were able to raise $60 million for the green purposes. That under the program, so we can support 7 kind of sectors, which is renewable energy, energy efficiency more than 20%, water management, green building, sustainable agribusiness, farming, and this kind of like 7 sectors we can support. At the same time, also we also considering about to issue another like green bond to the public in the Mongolia Stock Exchange as well.
Thank you so much, Degi. You mentioned digital. And would you be so kind to pass on this very traditional microphone? Because I need to introduce our second panelist, who is Mr. Koji Kurushima from Mobicom. Digital is the buzzword. You have been present in Mongolia for quite some time. And again, foreign investors, they are looking for good banking services, and they are looking now for digital infrastructure. What can you tell us about the digital ecosystem overall? Are we getting to 5G? Degi mentioned the vastness of the territory of Mongolia. How can we cover it? Anything you can share with us, including as investor. Koji-san, over to you.
Okay, sure. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Koji Kurushima from a telecom company in Mongolia, which is called Mobicom. We were established 27 years ago based on the investment of the cooperation with Mongolia and Japan. So since then, we now have a 99% share under a Japanese telco called KDDI. So if somebody's interested to hear about how the foreign invested company is being handled or treated in Mongolia, then I can maybe share some experience. But today I would like to share about what's the telecom industry in Mongolia. As Degi mentioned, that nowadays that Mongolian people are very much into this using the mobile application. Why is that? Is because even under this vast terrestrial landscape, overall throughout the last 27 years, 2G, 3G, 4G technology has been implemented, not just by our company, but also with the overall industry. And we see that roughly around 98 or 99% of the population is covered by network. And not by the home broadband, but mainly by mobile. And also in our company, roughly 85 to 90% of our customers are already using smartphone, which means that they have access to internet data. They are also using mobile application, not just the banking, but also others. And especially under the COVID situation, there were lots of demand of the connectivity, which also encouraged the customers to start using data. And that's usage of data is growing year by year. And roughly average of our customer monthly data usage is around 13 gigabyte, which is around 3 times higher than Japan, which means that the demand of internet access in Mongolia is hugely evolving. And as for the 5G, right now we're discussing with the Mongolian government. Most likely it will be implemented within this year or early next year. But we see that the involvement of 5G will maybe take time. Because there's, of course, it's a technology involvement, but there's no significant difference of 4G and 5G. Because with 4G, most of the application in Mongolia is usable. So we see that there's, next challenge for us is that how to cover the terrestrial coverage, geographical-wise. This is honestly very difficult because from one village to another, there's like 50 kilo, 60 kilo, and not so many human transportation in between. But in the future, we would like to still explore that the seamless connectivity will be one advantage of the future lifestyle of Mongolian people. So that's where we're heading towards.
Thank you very much. So digital and developing. One of my loveliest meetings was when we were together, Hannes, weren't we, with the Minister of Information Technology. And in the room, there were, if I counted well, and I don't count well, over 100 software developers gathered together, discussing also a new IT park. So digital technology, local software development is one of the, Vice Minister, you should put more emphasis on this, because you've got the resources, you've got the vibe of how to develop also this segment of the Mongolian economy. Certainly I was enthused by all those young and less young software developers that have been already working either for foreign companies or developing their own apps for use in Mongolia proper. And they deserve equity investment, don't they? Where are we on the equity scene? I mean, probably one of the most vibrant equity markets, at least in my region, is in Mongolia. High risk, high return. Let me introduce Ganzorig Ulzibayar from Mandal Group. Where do you see the equity investment potential in Mongolia?
Thank you. So just want to share my experience. A couple of years ago when I was studying at Berkeley, California, when I had to open a bank account, then because that time I just left my post from the second largest bank in Mongolia. We've been doing lots of fintechs and stuff like that. So that's when I realized, when I opened bank account in US, that Mongolian banks were not competing with fintechs. Mongolian banks were already fintechs. That's 2020, right? And then hearing from Mr. Koji-san that Mongolian internet usage is 3 times? Three times better than Japanese, is that sounds like a deal. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here on EBRD's invitation, and very happy for my Uzbeki friends. And this reminds me of a days 15 years ago, what happened in Mongolia. So 15 years ago, Mongolia was just like this, and opening, many people were coming. And since then, we had our ups and downs, we had our experiences with foreign investors, and Mongolian government is now fully committed with some of the past mistakes, because I think Mongolians, we first time didn't know how to deal with foreign investors, right? And now I could say that as one of the biggest players on the Mongolian capital markets, all the top major companies in Mongolia are producing IFRS compliant financials that can be easily, pass big four audit firms. And when it comes to business dealings and legal dealings and investments and the general culture, to understand general culture of incoming foreign investors, I think we're up to the standard now. And I think it's quite a good opportunity, for us to engage with foreign investors. So I have been myself playing with hedge funds and private equity investors from all over the world for the last 15 years. And I could say that, because those types of investors always see, I think EBRD including, Mongolia is a China resource play, right? So now it's evolving even more. Mongolia is China resource play. Mongolia is a China tourism play. Mongolia is also China food supply play, because when you go to China, Mongolia is seen as a green, natural, organic market. So as the Vice Minister, Mr. Tutendorf, mentioned that there's a huge development going currently on. Millions of dollars are being invested into developing agricultural business, the plantations and the animal husbandry, the meat factories. So I think when these products go to China, when I went to China to do some prospecting myself, there's a huge branding and pricing opportunity for Mongolians. And of course, you have heard about Chinese tourism boom, inbound tourism, outbound tourism. So as Vice Minister mentioned, we're setting up these free zones and going to establish casinos, as the Minister mentioned. And it's opening a huge millions of Chinese tourists to invite into Mongolia. And yes, of course, resource. Just after COVID, when the border was finally opened, our foreign reserves for the past 4 or 5 months increased almost 20 to 30%. So this is how important Mongolia is to Chinese economic development, supplying coking coal, which is the necessity for the production of the steel and their construction sector, and now, of course, copper production, which is now very attractive thanks to these EV and other developments and rare earths. So yes, I think when it comes to equity investors, be it private equity, hedge fund, or international banks, I think we have the sustainable, well-positioned companies who produce internationally recognized financial reporting, international standard financial reporting, and we have the culture. We now know how to cooperate and how to support foreign investors. So you could go through Mongolian Stock Exchange, which was actually last year the top performing stock exchange in the world, the highest growth stock exchange. And now big banks are being listed and state-owned enterprises are being listed. So yes, at Mandal Group, we are very enthusiastic for the next coming couple of years as the largest insurance group and asset manager in the country, locally funded asset manager. We've just launched 5 investment funds, 1 ETF, mutual fund, private equity fund, and 2 hedge funds. And all the funds are from locally now, but yeah, we do invite foreign investors, be it yourself or cooperate with us or join other companies or the government projects. I think the opportunity is here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ganzorik. Mandal Financial Group has an amazing kind of palette of its own activities, investment activities, but may I also probably invite others to get in touch with you, because you're also kind of like, you have your fingers on the pulse from the point of view of investments in Mongolia, if private sector, again, investors looking at it, whether institutional or strategic investors, because you've got also an overview. Of course, there is always the door open in the government of Mongolia. Many of us mentioned already agribusiness. One of my big discoveries were the conglomerates. You have very sizable and diversified holdings already in Mongolia, and I was delighted to meet the Shunklai Group. Of course, EBRD had started cooperating with Shunklai Group well before I took up my position. We had a series of investments with you, and I think this was this morning at 10:30 that we finally managed to sign a new transaction with you. You are open to cooperation. You have been cooperating with Heineken. When I went to Seoul just at the end of November, GS Retail was full of praise. Could you tell us more? Let me introduce Gantik Baitaksan from Shunklai Group Digital Concept, CEO. Tell us about how you are working with foreign partners, and a bit, of course, about the amazing variety of Shunklai Group's activities in Mongolia.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to come to this amazing country. I've never been here. It's my first time. I wish I could spend a little more time exploring, but in terms of partnering up with international companies, we have a Heineken 25% ownership in our beverage business, which has over 80% market share in vodka and beer, and 30% in dairy. And lately, since 2021, we launched a convenience store in cooperation with GS Retail from Korea. And the benefit of that is these are all new for us, and then there's a lot of knowledge transfer. For example, Heineken operates in so many markets that whatever challenges, whatever problems we face with, there's always one OpCo that has faced it, and there's a team who actually knows how to manage it. So in terms of compliance, governance, reporting, accounting standards, management, and also supply chain, we are exposed to vast and very efficient supply chain networks through Heineken. And then GS Retail has provided us with digital infrastructure idea, hence the company is called Digital Concept, although we're a retail business. But because of Mongolia hasn't much industrialized in the past, I think it's fast for us to adopt new technologies. We don't have to replace older ones. And because of our limited population, I think technology, leveraging technology and the efficiency, productivity is the best. I mean, it's the way forward. And we're heavily dependent on the mining sector, so I think we need cooperation in terms of farming, industrialized farming, and agribusiness, obviously. And I think, yeah, these are the
again
immediate and obvious.
I don't think I open up a lot of secret with you, but and you know, of course, that GS Retail trusts you enormously. They have big plans together with you. So, of course, we'll be there to support you, as we have done so far. But again, your holding, Shunklai Holding, is also one of the examples of how open Mongolian companies are. They have very firm strategy. So don't come to them with flirting ideas, because they know exactly how to do, but very open for cooperation, embracing new technology, even without hesitation if it helps the growth and development, and very flexible in reaction also to market demand. Thank you very much. Kato-san, Golombek, how do we react? I let you drink. Of course, we are going back to the banking sector, and you are one of the grand old gentlemen who has been working in Mongolia with clients, a lot of kind of corporate clients there as well. We have recently, with Hannes and colleagues, been discussing, for instance, supply chain financing and how that could be done. What can you share with us about your clientele, your products, where you see also the investment potential for Mongolia.
Thank you very much. I started my career with a Japanese bank, and I happened to come to Mongolia in total 9 years managing the banks. And Conglomerates Bank is a more corporate type bank compared to Han Bank. And as you may know, the economic difficulty of 2016, since then, Mongolia's banking sector learned a lot of things, I think, and very much improved the risk management and recent government policy that the top 5 banks needed to be listed. And currently, among top 5 banks, 3 banks finished the IPO, including Conglomerates Bank. So banking sector's capital base gets much more stronger. And through those past 4 years or so's experience, especially in case of Conglomerates, we are very much well positioned now to support the all over Mongolia's economic growth. Our portfolio is now corporate 30%, SME 25%, consumer retail 22%, and mortgage loan 23%. This is, by and large, Mongolia's banking sector's overall average business distribution. And Mongolia's banking sector is quite, in my view, in a way, have a spirit of introduce new products pretty proactively. And of course, we keep dialogue with our regulator. However, I think, relatively speaking, the Mongolia is very creative and very open banking service now available. Thanks to the listing, the bank's openness and disclosure, I think, dramatically improving. And for foreign investor, more comfortable investment would be available. Mongolia has more than 200 or so securities licensed firms, but they are pretty much small size so far. However, they managed those bank IPOs, and also top 3 banks has a custody business. Those facilities are waiting for foreign investors, investment occasions. The corporate banking is also the sector that produce the leading the market in a way and bring the new ideas and entrepreneurship and bring the employment and all those things. And green finance, sustainable finance, that will bring the more impactful opportunity. And the banking sector is ready to work with for investors, also with DFIs, including EBRD. I stop here now.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I received 3 questions, not in order of priority. But first, Hannes, we have to make sure, because there is a demand for the presentation of the Vice Minister. Let's make sure that we can find a way of how to make it accessible, because a lot of you would like to use it also as background information. The second question that has come in, I think it's probably directed to you, Gantek. It's about, again, logistics. So a lot of people, again, had a look at map of Mongolia and would be interested, because you have to deal with a lot of kind of sales and supply. How is logistics today working out for Mongolian companies, and where you see the improvement? The Vice Minister outlined already infrastructure plans, but how do you deal with logistics overall in your group, within the country but also internationally?
Well, we have to deal with only 2 borders, and because of COVID, it's been very difficult. But I think everything is, in Mongolia for at least improved to pre-COVID levels. And in addition, I think travel to Turkey, for example, because we can't fly to Russia, there's more flights coming in and out of between Istanbul and UB, and most of the flights back are empty. And Korea as well, I found. We exported our beer to Korean market through GS25. And they have 15,000 stores, so immediately we have to fill up shelves in 15,000 stores. So we use sometimes we have to use flights, unfortunately, which does not help for cost. But I think more government would have a better,
So we heard about the plans to develop further infrastructure, rail and roads. There is a ministry, I understand, there is a minister for dry ports. So overall, the Mongolian government has put a lot of emphasis on their strategic plans of how to create smoother trade. Both within the country, I'm proud as EBRD to be financing the Ulaanbaatar-Darkhan Road, hope to do more, Hannes, yes, but overall international trade, again, I know that the government is not only aware of your problems and headaches, you must produce a premium beer for that price to sell in GS25 convenience stores in Korea. But again, there are strategic plans that would be implemented in the coming 5+ years that would alleviate any of these bottlenecks. The next question, who would like to take it? It's about cybersecurity in Mongolia. Do you face these issues? How it's dealt with in terms of national regulatory, your own attention? Koji-san, you grabbed the microphone.
Yes, as an IT company, I think I should answer this first. Yes, cybersecurity is an issue in Mongolia. Yes, even telecom companies getting attacks, DDoS attacks, and other cybersecurity attacks day to day. But this is not just in Mongolia. I think it's very common in most of the countries around the world. Somehow it's been protected by the private sectors, also been protected by the government. And since there was a new law established last year, May, talking about the personal information law and cybersecurity law, now I see that the government is putting a high attention on how to improve the overall country's cybersecurity under the Prime Minister's Council, which is established, I think, recently. So as a private sector, we do regular cybersecurity preventive measures. Also, not cybersecurity, but in order for the improvement of the morale of the business entities and also the private citizens, we also put attention on how we improve the educational level of these cybersecurity and also data protection issues in Mongolia. So I think it's not perfect, but I think it's gradually developing, and I think the government has a higher attention on this topic, so they will be improved soon.
Just wanted to add to Koji-san's point, because when I was the CEO of Column Bank, I'm predecessor of Mr. Kato-san, I established a cybersecurity center. So the banks, Han Bank, Column Bank, we employ some of the best cybersecurity solutions in the world. We spend millions of dollars each year to protect our customers' data. So I think when it comes to that regard, protecting customers' data from outside infringements, I think Mongolia is up to Western banking standards. And also back to the logistics question, I just thought maybe the person who asked perhaps referred to how Mongolia ships all those resources to China, right? Just 4 years ago, we had only one railroad and just one or two, concrete road shipping our resources to China. But during COVID, we have managed to finish another new railroad to China, which is 300 kilometers long. So during COVID, we haven't been just sitting at home, doing the Zoom meetings. We've been building. So right now, just another railroad is being finished, and another railroad project was just announced, and which will be finished early next year. So now Mongolia is getting connected to China, like 5-6
arteries
new, logistical means to ship all those, coking coals and iron ores and copper concentrates, etc. So, yeah, sorry if I was.
And no, but overall logistics, again, Hannes, if you agree with me, logistics is where we see private sector expanding. By the nature of where Mongolia is, logistics is big, whether it's at the border crossing points, whether it's stocking up, as we discussed with you also. So again, logistics is another area for private sector investment, mostly taken by excellent Mongolian companies, but this is also definitely an area that is growing in the country. Peggy?
Yeah, I just want to briefly share about our experience on the cybersecurity, because banking we serve today almost 82% of the population, so data privacy is very, very important. So in that case, we implement ISO 27001, information security standard, and then also the annual basis we have a technology audit by the big technology audit companies. At the same time, also we hire some white hackers, and whether there's some system vulnerabilities test, and regularly we check these kind of things. And soon, I think EBRD was going to organize some event for the cybersecurities. We would be happy to have our IT people, technology people go there. And also the data center is also the key issue, because Mongolia, private information, so that's very sensitive information. There's a specific law, so those kind of like informations cannot be kept in the cloud, and so it has to be physical like data center. So in that case, Hambank have established tier 2 standard data center, which is all this customer information that is kept at the premises in Mongolia. Yeah.
Thank you very much. There was a question, I don't know who is brave enough to take it. I don't know whether the Vice Minister would like to volunteer. It's about energy. So with all the development, as has been described, in the mining industry, manufacturing, digital, the data centers, where do we get energy from in this coal-rich country? I don't want to put you, Minister, on the spot, but this is perhaps something that we could also take up after this call. Anybody from the panelists who would volunteer to go into? Otherwise, I will refrain as EBRD from talking about renewable energy, because you know probably our strong drive there. Anything to add there? Or otherwise we can take it offline, and I know that the Minister would be here to answer this question. Everybody is nodding, handing it over. No, Degi takes the role. Minister, it has to be appreciated.
Okay, so just from banking perspective, and since we work with all sectors, the clients, and so bank is really supporting renewable and clean energy sectors, and so there's if you already there's some renewable kind of energies there, like the wind farm and solar panel, and Hambank supporting one of these the projects now, and because it originally was funded by the investor itself, and so now some portions Hambank is coming as an investor, the lender, and so of course this kind of like projects, and what we see is the collateral and also offtake agreement itself, and then honoring those payments on time, and these kind of things are very crucial. That's what we see, especially for the credit analysis. And I think that there's many of the investors over here invested in this kind of wind and solar panel part, and also government is also supporting renewable energy besides that's coal, and so that's what I can say from the banking side.
This is the cross-fertilization between Uzbekistan and Mongolia. This is how I would put it. You mentioned that Uzbekistan, especially in terms of capital market development, where we were in Mongolia 15 years ago, I took my little table with me with the prices achieved through renewable auctions to Ulaanbaatar to show that these are not the same prices as the feed-in tariffs that we still have for those developers from 7 or 8 years ago. So needless to add that EBRD is there in a strong and pushy policy dialogue with the government, with our partners in the government of Mongolia, discussing, Dagi, you said, again, offtake agreements, what needs to be done in terms of investment in the grid. Last year, we already signed the first transaction to strengthen the grid exactly in a necessary area. More needs to be done. From our side, we strongly believe in renewables, but without grid strengthening and the solidity of the off-taker, again, it will just become a sovereign risk. So a lot, this is when, let's take Uzbekistan to Mongolia for renewables, and let's take the Mongolian capital market development experience from Mongolia to Uzbekistan. Kato-san, you wanted to add to this discussion.
Yes. Mongolia has a tremendous potential of a renewable energy provider, not only the internal electronic demand, but also potentially to export. However, currently, Mongolia is lacking the electricity, and the new robust project, always electricity become constraints. So the renewable energy, and also in Mongolia, the very much big subsidy is given for the electricity price, and those tariffs and those things we need to think about. And nationally, it is a very important issue, and working together with institutions like EBRD, together with the government, banking sector, and also the project owners themselves, it's a very important focus. So if Uzbekistan is doing that area pretty well, we can learn from them, I think. And those free kind of a spirit of financial markets are ready to help. But of those off-take agreement and those things, if it is solid, we will have a more rapid progress we can make in the renewable energy sector.
I know I shouldn't say it amen, but be it this way. So the dialogue continues. I think it's time for us to close, but not before. I would like to ask from the audience in the classical way if there is one or two questions from you, or you have already booked your trip to Mongolia.
So while waiting for some brave hands over there, just want to add just 2 points. One is Mongolia has always been a full democracy since 1990.
I was going to end with this.
There has never been any political risks or internal tensions or conflicts within internal groups. So that should be noted over here. Yeah.
I was going to say it
also,
in my wrap-up.
Also, Ministry of because the minister is sitting over there. I'm just looking in front of him. So on behalf of him, I should say that Ministry of Economic Development just pushed a new investment fund law to the parliament. And I read the draft law, and within that draft law, many tax breaks are introduced for the foreign investors, and also dispute resolution mechanisms and investor protection mechanisms are clarified at great length. And this entire law is designed to protect the interests of the foreign investors. So just want to make those notes, and please, your questions.
Please, go ahead. Do we have a microphone to help?
Hello, Claire Nuttall, B&E and Telenews magazine. I just wanted to actually ask the Minister something. You talked a lot about diversification and the potential, but could you say anything about how much progress has been made so far? And also, when it comes to things like manufacturing and food processing, are companies looking to the fast-growing local population, or are they thinking mainly for export?
Could we have the Minister with the microphone, or you might wish to come back to the lectern? Perhaps the microphone is more mobile. So local markets or export markets?
Nick. Okay. Thank you for the questions. Because of diversifying economy in Mongolia is very crucial. The mining sector has a huge role of the Mongolian economy, and one fourth of the GDP Mongolian economy size, and almost reached more than 75% of the all investment goes to the mining sectors. And we have experience for more than 20 years for experience for investment on the mining, for trying to develop, and we have to the economy is rising, and double the GDP and per people capita. But we have to diversify. That is very important for next 10, 20 years. We have a quite big potential to develop for agricultural business in Mongolia and meet and cashmere and wool and agriculture, agribusinesses in Mongolia. So we have to diversify the economy, and we're reflecting all the economic growth to every Mongolian citizens. That's why we, government of Mongolia, is focusing to diversify the economy. We have lots of potential on the energy sector and infrastructure, agricultural businesses, and also housing projects. And we are planning to diversify for next 10 years. Okay.
Thank you so much, Vice Minister. Hannes, you are trying to give me signs. Is it? I mean, do we give the floor to the country director for Mongolia? I mean, I take it as a consensus.
No, I just wanted to give you examples about manufacturing and processing in Mongolia. The world's largest cashmere coat factory is in reality located in Mongolia. We have a dairy here with Su Milk, who has started exporting. We have rapeseed oil producers, which made the first exports to South Korea as well. So the country is starting to process the agricultural products and exports them already. But there is, of course, a lot more potential in the country, and here foreign knowledge and foreign investments are required. When we heard about Apu is exporting beer to South Korea and even transporting them via airplane. So there is a potential in the market, and I think with the help of international investors and with knowledge gained from there, we can even do more here for Mongolia.
And I was going to close it with something that somebody has mentioned here. Mongolia is beautiful, vibrant society. It's also a very vibrant democracy. My God, I have yet to see a country where a government has majority in the parliament and still have to fiercely fight to put its point through. That is what you see there in terms of legislation is extremely widely debated. Once it's agreed, it's there. So again, and increasingly, what you pointed out as well, increasingly again, which is the toughest part of any transition I am aware of, is how to enforce the law. Whether enforcing collateral, law, commercial courts. We are getting there as well with a very open dialogue with the government of Mongolia. I hope I deserve now, if I'm not the ambassador of Mongolia, at least an envoy to promote it. But here you have also foreign investors, banks that are making money by serving the clients and serving development goals, and local companies that very much believe in their country and is developing financial and physical infrastructure. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you in Mongolia soon. Thanks a lot.